Welcome to the second edition of Old Guy Observations. Astute observers may have noticed that I've renamed the show from Ofe Observations to become Old Guy Observations because my girlfriend tells me that the word Ofe could be offensive to some, and so I will no longer use it because I am enlightened, I am woke, I am a human being that cares that I don't want to be offensive to others. However, none of that has anything to do with today's observation. Today's observation has to do with Schnucks. For those of you that are not aware, Schnucks grocery store has recently implemented a policy whereby they will not allow you to go through the self-checkout lane with more than 12 items. This has been loosely enforced as far as I can tell because the first time I went to Schnucks after hearing the big announcement, I checked out with 13 items in the 12 checkout lane because there was nobody there and there was a long line for manned checkout. And so I simply did the reasonable thing and used the empty cash register that was available, and I checked out and paid for all 13 of my items, even though their limit was 12. I pulled one over on them, if you know what I mean. However, I then observed that in a local Facebook page for my local neighborhood of O'Fallon, Illinois, I noticed people complaining that the other Schnucks was strictly enforcing the rule and that people were not being allowed to check out with 13 items in the self-checkout lane, even though they protested that, hey, those registers are empty and there's a long line over at the manned registers because you got 8 registers but you only have people at 2 of them. And apparently some people had some conflict with the store over that matter because they were enforcing the rule and not letting people do that. And so they were all mad and they were posting about it on Facebook. Well, I didn't have that problem. I went to the other Schnucks in town. Technically, it's a different town. It wasn't the O'Fallon Schnucks. It was technically the Fairview Heights Schnucks, but still the matter was the same. I had gone there, and to my surprise, they had 4 lanes open with manned people manning them, staffing them. I don't mean to be sexist. And there was no line to get to them. Well, actually, there was a very short line. There were 2 people in front of me, and my biggest delay was one person standing there not realizing that they had said, hey, come forward and come here and I'll check you out. And then they stood there like idiots and didn't go forward. But then when the machine said, ding, next person step forward, then they, like good automatons, they obeyed and they went forward, and they of course went to the wrong lane, not to the one of the woman that had been beckoning them to say, come to my lane number 12. They instead went to the lane number 9 that the screen had told them to go to. However, being right behind that person, I exercised human judgment and I went to lane 12 where the woman had been waving saying, I'm down here waiting to check somebody out. If you want to come check out, I'm here and I'm available for you. And so I walked down there and I checked out my 5 items in the staffed checkout lane because it was more convenient because they actually had people staffing the registers on that day. Unfortunately, that was a week ago. And I thought to myself, this is too good to last. And I was right. Today, instead, at the very same Schnucks, they had 3 lanes open in the staffed area of checkouts, and they had 4, what appeared to be 4 registered open working out of 6 in the self-checkout area. However, the self-checkout line to get to the 4 working registers in the 6 register self-checkout area was about a block long. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I estimate that there was at least 25 people in that line waiting to self-checkout. And apparently they were in that line waiting to self-checkout, which ran down the entire length of the store and then doubled back halfway. They were in that line because it was still shorter than the line waiting for the staff checkout, where I guess Schnucks decided they were paying too many people to work and didn't want to invest in staffing all those lanes of registers, and so they only had 3 registers open today, even though they had all that. Now, I had 4 items today: yogurt, shredded carrots, and I forget what the other 2 were. However, by the time I realized that both lines were going to take me at least 30 minutes to wait for someone to either check me out or to allow me to check myself out, I decided I'm not playing this game. I'm just going to leave. And so I intended to walk my cart up and let a Schnucks employee know, hey, you might want to put these 4 items, 2 of which are perishable, refrigerable items, away. But there was no person there to let know, so I just parked my cart and I slipped past the person that was first in line, waiting for the screen to tell them to step forward. And I walked down the empty, unmanned line, past the cashier that was standing there and wasn't currently checking somebody out. And I said, hey, you might want to let somebody know that I've abandoned my cart over there because I'm not going to stand in this line waiting to check out. And she said, oh, well, you could step forward. At which point, the 25 people in line that I just walked past gave me dirty looks, and I said, I'm not going to step in front of all those people. Why don't you call them forward if you're ready to check somebody out? And then she asked me, well, are there cold items in your cart? And I said, yep, I'm afraid there are. Have a good day, and I left. So my observation is that Schnucks is having some growing pains with their new policy and may need to change that soon. I'm not happy about it. But what is more embarrassing to me is not just Schnucks' mismanagement of their checkout lanes, but rather the fact that when I came home and I asked my beloved partner, hey, where's the shredded carrots? Did you put that in the wrong produce drawer in our refrigerator? And her response to me was, no, you dummy. You left them at Schnucks in the cart you walked away from. This concludes another episode of Old Man Observations. I hope you have enjoyed the show and will tune in again. Thank you. Goodbye.